Hello. How are you doing today? You ready for today's training? Because we've got a good one here. We're going to be talking about organization and what it really means to be focused, to follow through on what you tell yourself that you want to do. Because so many lawyers come to me and they tell me they feel like a hot mess, that they're just disorganized, that they're scattered, and they you. I have been there, have been because I've been there too. So I'm going to share with you what I experienced and how I got myself out of that mentality and how I became a lawyer who could be in charge of her practice, follow through on what I said I was going to do, plan, prepare even better. And it made me a better attorney. If you don't know me, I'm Dina Cataldo. I am a master certified coach. I am a former criminal prosecutor. I was a criminal prosecutor for a little over 15 years. And during that time, I experienced the ups and downs of what it's like being an attorney, working the 50 to 70-hour work weeks, having the responsibilities of an attorney who had multiple assignments. And for those of you who are in trial, you know that the work doesn't stop just because you're in trial. You continually have cases flowing into your office through your inbox, you're receiving emails. And that is simply the reality of being a lawyer, that there will always be lots of work coming into you. And so it's your job to become the kind of lawyer who is organized, effective, and somebody who is in charge of your practice. And that is what I want to start talking to you here about today. And this training, along with the trainings that I did earlier this week, and I have a couple more happening on Thursday and Friday, are all part of introducing you to concepts that I talk about in my Timepiece for Lawyers program. So I will talk to you a little bit about that towards the end of this training. But I want you to know that it's available if you are feeling disorganized, if you feel anxiety or pressure about work. I really created Timepiece for Lawyers to address those issues and to help you through them, to help you become the kind of lawyer who is organized, who feels like they have control over their practice, even though we know that we simply cannot control everything and that there will always be a last minute assignment, a last minute task. I help you through Timepiece really learn the skill of becoming the leader of your practice, walking into your practice and owning it. Whether or not you own your own practice or not, it doesn't mean that you can't walk into your practice and feel like you have the ability to take charge. So let's talk about today. And I want to share with you really my experience as a lawyer who felt completely disorganized, as if I had zero power over my caseload. I felt like I was being pulled in a lot of different directions, like I was a hamster on a wheel. And I would find myself in these situations where I was waiting until the last minute to work on projects. I was really struggling. I was really feeling so much dread and anxiety when it came to my work because I would find myself A, I didn't use a calendar except for appointments and for hearings, but B, I would have the deadline. I would know that it was coming up and I wouldn't start on the work and I would procrastinate. I'd put it off. But I would get the work done, right? Like I would always get it done. I prided myself on getting work done no matter what. But it was really taking a toll on me because I didn't have the ability to say, this is what I'm going to do. This is when I'm going to do it. I'm going to have this done by this time and then just complete it. No, what I was doing is I was waiting until the last minute and really working myself into burnout. I was overworking and I was not nurturing myself the way that I needed to because I really didn't have control of my practice. I really felt like I was the victim of my practice, at the mercy of my practice. And it was getting to the point where it was affecting my work product. where I could see that if I had just given myself a little more time, the brief that I wrote could have been a little more organized. It would have made a little more sense. I would have found that one case that I ended up having to do extra research for after the fact when I could have done it earlier. But the thing was is I didn't know how to manage my time. All I knew is that I had 70 cases, all of them set for trial, and I needed to make sure that they had subpoenas, that they had all the dates on the calendar, that we were going to be able to have all of the evidence and the witnesses lined up the way that I needed to. And so much of that felt out of my control because of the volume of the work. But it really wasn't out of my control. I just didn't know how to focus my workflow. I didn't know how to think about my cases in a way that allowed me to be organized, to really think through how I was going to approach my work. And everything really came into full focus for me when I was about 29 years old. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I stepped out for a few months to do chemotherapy, and chemotherapy felt like a vacation. And so I came back thinking, okay, I got to figure out a way to make my law practice work for me so that I can feel more relaxed while I'm at the office, because I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to feel anxiety all the time. I wasn't supposed to feel stress all the time. I felt so relaxed when I was on chemo. It just gave me that realization that I could be doing things differently in my law practice. Because if I could do chemo and it was relaxing, I definitely could figure out how to do my law career and not be stressed out all the time. But the problem is that I didn't have the tools. I had the desire, but I didn't have the tools. So when I came back to my legal practice, I went right back into the same old habits of not calendaring the way I needed to, not organizing or prioritizing the way that I needed to, and really working all hours of the day and night, thinking that that was the way I was going to catch up with my work, not being realistic and understanding that work will continually come in and I need to find a way to work with that reality. I was basically in denial, right? So, what I found from that experience and then starting to build my business on top of my law practice, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build a business on top of my law practice. I know to a lot of people that sounds crazy, but I really had this strong desire to go out into the world, create something new and different, and bring it to people. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I needed to do it. But the challenge became, how do I create this workflow in my legal practice? Be productive, be efficient, be the attorney that I want to be, and also build a business on top of that. Well, I didn't have the tools at first, is the answer to that question. I actually discovered the tools to do that while I was building my business. I discovered coaching. And what I discovered were that entrepreneurs had been using these tools in their businesses for years to get organized, to be productive, to be efficient, to be effective, to be the best person that they could for their clients. But these techniques hadn't filtered into the legal industry. And so, as a lawyer, I felt so lost because I had never been given any instruction other than make sure you don't miss a deadline, make sure you work really hard. And if you work really hard, everything will be fine, you'll be successful. But as an entrepreneur, as I was learning these skills, I was recognizing, wait a minute, these people have the secret to the universe. They understand that it's not that they have too much work. It's not that they are a hot mess. It's not that they're disorganized. That doesn't determine how organized you are. Doesn't, how neat your desk is in front of you has nothing to do with anything, how you feel. It does not make you feel anxious. You might think it does, and that's fine right now. But I'm telling you this because I learned this the hard way, and I want to give this to you. What the entrepreneurs knew that the legal industry doesn't is that managing your mind is what helps you become organized. Managing how you think and how you feel is what helps you be productive and calm while you're doing it. Being calm is what helps you become the person who is problem solving oriented. And this was a massive change for me because I had never heard about mindset. I had never understood anything. Like, I once I heard them say, "Oh, your thoughts create your feelings." I heard this and it blew my mind. You mean what I'm thinking in my head is actually creating the feeling I'm having in my body of tension, of pressure, of overwhelm. It blew my mind. And I want to tell you, if this is blowing your mind too, I want you to know that this is a good thing that your thoughts create your feelings. And it's not your exterior world. It's not the files coming in. It's not the clients. It's not the phone calls. It's not the court appearances. This is a good thing because if it's your mind, then you can take charge of it. You can learn the skills to take charge of it because it's impossible for us to control the outside world, the clients, right? We might be able to set boundaries, we might be able to set expectations, but we cannot control them as human beings. We cannot control when a client is going to bring work to us. We can't control those things. But you know what we can control is we can control what's up here in our minds. So when I learned that how I was thinking about the work was actually what was creating so much disorganization in my world, I actually felt really empowered because that meant I could do something about it. It meant that when I was looking at a day when I felt overwhelmed, when I felt frustrated, that I could actually do something about it. And that is what I teach my clients in Timepiece for Lawyers, that when they walk into their office, they actually have control over how they approach their day. And I teach them how to rein in their mind, how to really look at problems that have come up during the day, in the morning, in the middle of the day, at night. And I help them rein in what's going on. I help them learn how to manage their mind. And when I started to manage my mind, everything changed for me. I was able to expand my capacity to take on more work. And just one example of that is I was able to build a business while working full time as a lawyer and take care of myself, meaning yoga. I went to yoga. I kept myself calm. That was an imperative for me because I knew that stress, worry, anxiety, fear, all of those exacerbate cancer. And that was of prime concern to me. That was something that I always wanted to make sure that I took care of because it was important to me that I live. We weren't meant to feel fear and anxiety 24/7. But now we live in a society where an email can make our blood pressure rise, where we're getting constantly bombarded by information. We weren't meant to absorb all that information. So if you can manage your mind, you can start filtering. You learn how to filter it. And another thing that happened to me was that I was able to, even in my busiest times as a lawyer, and I don't like using the word busy anymore. That's not a word that I use to describe myself. I do not want that word in my vocabulary, but you probably use it all the time because I remember using it all the time. And I remember anytime I would step into an elevator and ask another lawyer how they were doing, they would say, "Oh, I'm busy," as if that was something that explained to me how they felt. Right. So this is something that has permeated our culture in the legal profession is that we're busy, we have so much to do, and that is somehow a proof, a badge of honor for how good of an attorney we are or how well we're doing because in our society we're also taught to equate hard work with being a good human being. But tell me how hard you need to work in order to be considered a good human being. Well, there's no answer to that because you are innately worthy. You're an innately worthy human being. And when you begin to manage your mind, you begin to accelerate the goodness that happens in your life. It's not based on the hard work that we're told is going to make us a worthy attorney, is going to make us a successful attorney. It's about the amount of focus we can generate. If we work really hard, we could be working really hard doing the wrong things. But if we know how to manage our mind, if we can focus our attention, then we can get an infinite amount of work done in a much shorter amount of time where we're no longer looking at doing all of the work. I know so many lawyers who are keeping themselves busy, checking email, making copies, tweaking footers of their documents. That kind of busy work is not the kind of work that is going to move the needle in your practice. What is essential is that you manage your mind so that you're not doing the busy work and instead you're doing the most essential work. Instead of doing the things that you think you need to be doing, like, making copies, tweaking your footer, all of those things, right? Working on your website, working on your about page, whatever it is you're working on, instead of doing the most essential work, you've got to be able to manage your mind in order to change the activities that you're doing. And this idea of managing your mind was so foreign to me because I wasn't even aware that I was having thoughts. They were happening so quickly in my head. I didn't even know what my thoughts were. I knew I was always thinking about work. I knew that I was always, busy, rushing around from place to place, getting things done in the office. I knew I was always worrying about work, but I didn't know that my thoughts that I was behind, that I needed to catch up, that I was never going to catch up, that there was just so much to do, that I was just so busy, that those were the kinds of thoughts that were really impacting me negatively and making me incredibly disorganized, making me so disorganized that it wasn't my desk that was freaking me out. Or I knew that. I knew that couldn't be it. It was that I was freaking me out. And so I want to share with you that if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're experiencing these feelings of self doubt that you're never going to get things done, that you're going to fall behind, that those thoughts are creating pressure and anxiety, and that's creating disorganization in your law practice. You're not focusing on the things that need to get done. You're not focused on the ability to follow through on what you say you want to do versus always being at the mercy of fire after fire after fire. You do not have to work that way. And I learned that firsthand, but it required me to take a step back and to see exactly what was going on. And what was going on is that I was not in charge of my practice. My practice was in charge of me. My practice was really taking me for a ride. And so if you're noticing that yourself, isn't that funny? I just noticed that my other camera was on and I was like, what? I do not want that camera. I want the other pretty camera. Anyhow, that's what just happened right now. So, if you're feeling like you're at the mercy of your practice right now, know that you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. It's that you haven't been given the skills to really do what's necessary to focus your attention in a way that helps you follow through, that helps you not only plan exactly what you want to do that day, but once you've planned it, once you have decided your priorities, you actually follow through on those priorities. A lot of people think that they're just not disciplined enough, that they're not working hard enough, that they're lazy if they're not following through. What it really is that you're not managing your mind. And that's not your fault. You've never been taught the skills of mind management. I didn't even know what mind management was until I started down this path of entrepreneurship and saw that that's what the most successful entrepreneurs did in order to create businesses that made money. And so that's what I want to share with you in Timepiece. I'm going to be telling you exactly how to manage your mind and the link between mind management and how you feel. So that if you're feeling anxiety, you no longer have to feel anxiety. You know the keys to the castle to unlock that anxiety so that you can feel calm and you can feel more confident and you can feel more self-possessed when you walk into your office. So many lawyers I talk to don't feel confident. They don't feel confident speaking up for what they want. They don't feel confident setting boundaries. They don't know how to set a boundary. We're going to be talking about that this week as well in these trainings. So I want to invite you now to join me for Timepiece for Lawyers. You can join me at dinacataldo.com/timepiece, PEACE. And inside of Timepiece, what you're going to find when you join today are the trainings that you need to not only manage your mind, but how to manage your time. Because once you start to manage your mind, you're going to see, oh, wait a minute, I have so much power than I think over my calendar, over my time. You're going to get all of the Timepiece process. It's already inside of the library, which you're going to unlock today. You're going to get the bonuses inside, which are going to help you really focus your attention if you need to hire somebody in your practice. I've even had lawyers who don't own their own practice go through this training and say that they needed this training for the assistance that they had because they didn't even realize that they weren't really training their assistant appropriately, that they weren't even interacting with their assistant appropriately. You're going to get bonuses on how to create a standard operating procedure and how to get your assistant to do this for you. You're also going to get trainings that are beyond just what's up in time management, because I really believe that to be a complete human, you've got to have all the tools: mind management, emotional management. You also need to have the strategic skills, which I give all of them to you, but you also have to have the ability to calm your nervous system on demand, even when you can't manage your mind. So I give you somatic trainings as a bonus. And what a somatic training is, are specialized meditations and breathing exercises that I'm giving to you that you can do on the go to help you calm yourself enough so that you can connect with your mind and then manage your mind. Because oftentimes our nervous system is in such a high state of dysregulation, feeling anxiety and overwhelm and stress, that we need to come down before we can even begin to do the mind management work. And so that's what I wanted to give you in Timepiece, so you have that tool as well. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with Timepiece for Lawyers, because you sign up today, you get all of this information, but you also get the 16 weeks of coaching with me. And during those 16 weeks, you and I are going to be working on your mind management, on how to get organized in your practice. What are those frustrations that are really bothering you? And let's clean those all up. Because when you start cleaning up all these little messes in your law practice, you're going to be starting to notice that they have a snowball effect, that you begin to feel better going into the office, that you actually want to get up in the morning. I've had clients who have taken vacations without their laptop because they learn the skills that they need to communicate what they need, what they want, create boundaries, so that they can just do all of everything that they need to set aside time for them to leave the office without a laptop and instruct everybody accordingly. And it was amazing for them because they had never done it before. And she got to spend her time with her daughter, which was just so magical. So, if you aren't managing your mind, think about what you're missing out on. You're missing out on those times being present with your family, being present and totally with your partner. Are you making time for those date nights to keep formulating that connection? Are you doing the things that you want to be doing in your life that form connection with you? Do you make time for you? Do you ask yourself what you want? And probably you don't, because you may not even be thinking about that because you're so overwhelmed with work. At least that's where I was. I didn't even know to ask myself these questions. I didn't even think I had time to ask these questions because I was so immersed in the work. I really thought that was the be all end all, that I needed to work at all costs. And for you, you might be feeling the same way. Maybe you were raised like I was, and you were taught that hard work and determination were what set you apart. And you don't become a person who's not a hard worker when you can manage your time. You're actually a better worker. You're more effective. You're more efficient. You come across as more effective. And that's so important when we want to build confidence in the people that we're serving, because we want to be the kind of person who is organized. We want to be the kind of person that people can look at and go to and feel confidence when they say, hey, are you going to get this done? You say yes, and it actually gets done when you say it's going to get done. This is what I want to share with you today. Join me for Timepiece for Lawyers, because we're going to be working on all of this and more during our time together. And when you join right now, you're going to get everything that I just talked about. Plus, you're going to get access to all of the replays from the last Timepiece sessions that I have done. And we talk about topics that are going to come up during our coaching sessions. But if you want to just jump into it now and binge, or go in and pinpoint what you want, I have topics on boundaries, on how to create those boundaries and how to enforce them, on really those problems that are real life human problems, like being a caretaker for a loved one and trying to manage your time, on the self-worth that we put into our work, or more that we believe we need to work really hard and that is somehow going to prove ourselves to the people around us, the fears that we have to do the things that we want to do in our practice, like leave the office a little early, like those kinds of things and so much more we cover in Timepiece. And we haven't even scratched how to manage your time, because I go through a very distinct process, a very thorough step by step process on managing your time, on managing your calendar. And when people go through my timepiece process, they're amazed. I was talking about a gal yesterday who'd been a litigator for 20 years, never used a calendar. And when she started using a calendar, she was a little scared. She wasn't sure if she was going to like it. And now she doesn't want to go without her calendar because it's so essential to her to keep her mind organized. Because really, a calendar is a tool to manage your mind. And I talk more about that in Timepiece. But when you start to manage your mind, everything starts to fall into place. You start to become more of the attorney that you thought you would be out of law school. You feel more confident, more self possessed, and you were going to be more effective as an attorney. You were going to be the most organized attorney in your practice. So not only are you going to get the time back, but you're also going to get your life back. You're going to get yourself back in Timepiece for Lawyers. So join me today. Go to dinacataldo.com/timepiece, TIMEPEACE. I look forward to seeing you inside. All right. Have a fabulous day. Bye.